And 3, 2, 1.
Yes.
नमस्कार.
Namaskar.
एग्नेस डिमेलो.
Yes.
एक मिनट.
Welcome to another edition of Indian Cine-MANIACS. What is going on, Maniacs? It's been a while.
Hey,
I'm feeling super sexy today.
So good to be back.
Well, it's good. You're squeezed back a little more than usual, so that's nice. All right, so tonight, we do these every couple of weeks, and tonight we're doing the last of the original viewer wheel, called Kahaani.
Will that take a year? Did that take a year to get off the wheel?
Almost a year. It feels like a year. And then we're going to start another wheel. John, why don't you explain the new wheel that's happening?
So, okay,
now?
so what we did was, based on suggestions from the gang here, that since I've seen so many Indian films and so many of our viewers say, well, why doesn't the whole gang watch that film that you watched? So I decided to put out a community poll, and I put what I thought would be the 10 best that everyone would like. And then I had them vote on the top 5. So On the Wheel is going to be the top 5, but the next film we're going to watch isn't on the wheel. It's one that I just watched called 12th Fail. That's going to be the next Indian movie we watch. I think you guys will really like that film.
12th Fail?
12th Fail. Yeah, it's not a current film, but it's pretty recent, and a lot of people are into that movie. So that ought to get us a lot of views too. But I really think you guys will enjoy that movie.
Because we're doing this for the views, right? That's why we're doing this.
We're doing it
for the views, and our viewers say, a lot of people that watch the 10-ish minute show want to hear what you guys think about the movies.
Cool. Well,
yeah, so I think that's pretty cool.
Let me just say this: the last viewer wheel, the last 2 films really cleared out well. I'm going to say this film was a good one to end for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, why don't you? Do you have the blurb? The original.
I do.
Blurb?
I have the blurb, and it came from. I'm going to mispronounce this, so let me apologize up front. Arivindan Nandan. Arivdan Andan.
That sounds perfectly fine to me. I don't see.
Yeah, I don't know if I said that right, but
it doesn't sound right, but it sounds like you're trying, and that's nice.
I am trying.
I know it's nice.
He actually has a pretty good write-up here. It says and I think it fits too. The film's riveting plot twists, atmospheric cinematography, and hauntingly beautiful music combine to create an unforgettable cinematic experience. If you crave a thriller that's both intellectual stimulating and emotionally gripping, Kahaani is a must-watch. Prepare to be captivated, intrigued, and utterly impressed by this Hindi gem. Don't wait. Dive into the enigmatic world of Kahaani.
Enigmatic, yes. I'm glad we read these after we see the film because holy
Actually,
cow.
that fits pretty good, though.
Well, it does. It's a little over-descriptive, I think. But okay, so John, why don't you give us the plot?
He's trying to sell it.
I just want to say now you know why you can read those Kindle books.
That's right. I did screw that. I re-edit that. So basically, well, let someone else. I mean, I did it last time. Let someone else tell the story.
All right.
I mean, everybody saw it.
Who wants to give the plot of the film?
I'll jump in here.
All right.
Yeah.
So, the Grumpy Bear.
No, I'm not. This is. I always feel a little.
One person out of the whole country of India said that, and Sean he's
there's like a billion Indian people. The one guy calls.
Chris, you got a bad rap. I don't buy it.
Okay. It is more fun to be beloved. I admit that.
I know they love you, Drew.
You're
stalking.
So they're
that's fair.
So the story is basically about. It starts off with a tragedy. Basically, it starts out in what looks like a chemical or some kind of chemical weapons factory, possibly. We're not 100% sure as it starts off. It has kind of a great atmosphere. They're running some tests on some animals. And then basically what happens is one of these, through happenstance, bags get switched, and then a bottle of this mysterious stuff drops on the subway. and causes a tragedy, right? A bunch of people die, kind of reminiscent of the nerve gas that was released in Japan on their subway system that killed a bunch of people as well. So anyway, what happens then is a woman shows up, a couple of years go by, and a woman shows up looking for her husband. This very pregnant lady shows up looking for her husband. She's a computer expert, and so she starts talking to people, and everyone she seems to run into says, "Oh, I'm not sure who you're talking about. I don't know that guy." And she starts to learn little bits here and there. Some people are more helpful than others. As we've seen in many Indian films before, there usually seems to be one good cop, or at least one caring policeman, who helps her out and becomes kind of the second lead in this film. And by the way, I do want to say the woman who is the lead in this film, as we're very used to, is an absolute stunner. But she's also a terrific actress, I think. I feel like she was a great actress, and I really kind of enjoyed her performance throughout. And so
I think she was good in a movie that we didn't really care for.
She was in Pa.
Also, she was in
Which
Pa.
one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She's very good in that. I didn't like the movie very much, but she's very good.
She was probably the best part of Pa.
I agree.
That being said, so it's basically about this woman's hunt for her mysterious lost husband, and like the original breakdown, like the summary we just heard, or the pitch you might want to call it, there are lots and lots of plot twists that go on in this movie. It's a tight 2 hours, just over 2 hours. And I've always been a big believer, if you're going to have a thriller, it needs to be as lean as possible. And I think that this is a really great, I think it's a really solid thriller. As far as that's concerned, some of the things I truly admit, I was like, what? And we'll get to those as we discuss it further. But a number of the twists really kind of knocked me out. I was really surprised that they caught me off guard, quite frankly. I did not see a couple of them. I kind of noodled through, but there's a few that really still caught me off guard completely. So basically, it's about a woman searching for her husband. Nobody wants to help her except a couple of people. And of course, as those people begin to help her and give her little bits of information, they, of course, die, which is pretty standard spy conspiracy stuff. So,
well, there's a parallel investigation. She's looking for her husband, and the police are looking for who did the chemical attack.
Well, yeah, and they obviously is kind of
they merge. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, at the beginning of this, you kind of glossed over it, but it was a pretty shocking scene where there's a guy in a mask giving testing on a mouse.
On a mouse, yeah.
And all of a sudden the camera pulls back and you see all these dead mice. So whatever he was creating was what was ended up on the subway.
About the switch. You said the switch about the bottle, because she dropped the bottle and that's what caused the chemical attack.
Yeah.
But where was the switch? I'm
Didn't
confused.
she? Wasn't it like there was or maybe I'm misremembering.
He was looking for. He went after the kids. He got a call.
Well, there was a guy on the train who looked like he was hunting people down.
He was looking at what he thought was the bag. He was looking at
backpacks, right?
And they did a switch.
That's what I meant.
That's right.
Like when I say the switch, I mean like there was
misdirection.
There was a misdirection about which bag, and the bag ended up being a woman's baby bottle.
A baby bottle, like a baby bag, like you would have for a baby.
And that was pretty gruesome. They showed everybody dead on the train as well.
That was extremely.
I don't know if you saw. I guess they played a news report that says 100 people have died, and then a moment later they show another news report, and the ticker says 214 people died.
Oh no, I didn't know.
So the scale of it is huge and scary, and I kind of thought we'd see that again. Like they're hunting for the man or men who did this, but I thought maybe we're trying to head off in another attack or something. I don't think the movie needed that. It doesn't need another clock type of thing, but that's one of those things that movie starts. It's like, all right, that's a pretty declarative event to start the movie off. What are we going to do with this?
Well, and it's sort of like you think that guy's the hero. Well, he lasts about 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. So the first plot direction was when she goes to the HR department of the company that her husband was supposed to be working at, right? And that woman says, "Oh my God, he looks like," and she gives the name, and it turns out that's the guy that the police are going at, or have like a Kaiser Soze almost, like
Milan. Is that was his name? Milan.
Yeah,
Milan Damji. I said the character is Kolkata Soze. So.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a mysterious person who nobody supposedly has ever seen, and somehow this pregnant woman and one of the guys, and that the super like the really jacked up FBI guy or whatever. I don't know what their term. He was
Nawazuddin Siddiqui from
You talking
Gangs
about
of Wassypur.
Yeah,
And
he
Lunchbox.
played Faisal.
Yeah, was he in Lunchbox? Wasn't he also in the one with where the guys are robbing all the stores? You know, they're playing detectives when they go in. Wasn't he the
Section
super cop in that one
5027.
too?
Oh, he might be. That might be. No, that was the other guy from Gangs of Wassypur. The one who got killed at the gas station. Sorry about the spoiler.
Oh,
But this
All right,
movie
so-
was
so-
apparently Siddiqui's big breakthrough. So
Yeah.
and he's great in it.
yeah, he was very good.
This was before Gangs of Wasseypur. actually.
Yeah, this was he was doing little things, and this was in 2012. This was the movie that made him a much bigger.
So he
and
was
well-known person.
the Indian FBI guy. That
Yeah,
guy,
he's the
right?
intelligence bureau
Intelligence
guy.
bureau.
Khan. His
Right,
name was
okay.
Khan.
Okay, Khan. So, you know, and
His
he
name
says
is
to
Khan.
her, you know, nobody looks at a pregnant woman. They're not going to, you know. So and I was kind of getting this, like, I don't want to say Columbo vibe, but this vibe of somebody just stumbling in, and just because they're persistent and people like them.
One more
that they're-
question. Yeah.
And a hacker.
Yeah, one more question. And she happened to be a hacker. The other thing she was doing, which, you know, triggers what happens as we learn more, is she was always very friendly to all the children that she runs into. Just genuinely, she looked like she loved those kids. And that was, you know, that was pretty interesting. And as we go further down the road, you know, we'll figure out why. But yeah, this was sort of a detective thriller. You know, it had me right up to the end. It's one of those, you know, I try to figure out what's going on, and I had no, you know, part of it is the red herrings are thrown up to kind of keep you from trying to figure it out. But anyway,
I was like, oh my God. I was like 10 minutes in. I'm like, oh, it isn't going to be this simple, is it?
what did you think it was going to be, Sean?
You know, I immediately, it's like, oh, he's the terrorist. And
who's he?
The husband is the terrorist. It's like, you know, immediately just from talking to the cab driver that he's using a false name, which is something that the wife takes a long time to, you know, that's not his name. That it's because they go to the you know, he wasn't checked. This kind of reminded me of The Lady Vanishes, the Alfred Hitchcock film about a woman who meets an older woman on the train, and then she disappears and no one remembers her because she goes to the hotel he was at. He wasn't there. Went to the place where he works. He didn't work there, you know, and the police have no records of him. There are no records of him coming into the country under that name. So it's like, you know, you're thinking, oh, he's probably the terrorist. He's probably in hiding. It's like an interesting thing to make the good guy, you know, the missing guy, the guy who killed 200 people on the train. I mean, and people were dropping faster in this movie than Boeing whistleblowers, you know.
Well, that assassin guy was pretty funny. The guy
Bob. I love that guy.
With the comb over.
that worked at the insurance company.
Yeah.
The most inept insurance salesman that they have.
Yeah, but good at murder.
He was good at murder.
That was a great character, creepy.
He's fat and balding. I really love this guy. You know?
This movie actually reminded me, and this is not a bad thing, of 3 distinct movies, 2 of them especially with the whole someone's missing and nobody has seen them. One of them was Frantic, the Harrison Ford movie that Polanski did where his wife disappears. One of them was Breakdown, where Kurt Russell's wife disappears when they're on a cross-country trip. And then one that has elements of it, but it's kind of like you don't really know who the people are till they get into the story. I don't know if you guys ever saw Target, the Gene Hackman, Matt Dillon movie.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And part of that movie is that Matt Dillon doesn't know that his father is a retired spook.
Right.
So when his father starts doing spy stuff, it kind of like, this is my frumpy dad kind of thing. And I don't know what it is. I like the idea of somebody so desperate to find someone that everybody's like, yeah, I don't know who that is. And I like somebody that looks like they don't do the things that they actually do, like Bob. I thought he was a great villain and he had a great ending. And it was really, and the first time that you see him kill, I can't remember her name, but the HR woman, that was just quite
Without
surprising
the wig.
that it went down like that.
Oh, that was
Without the
brutal.
wig.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
he
and
just,
quick. Yeah.
kind of comes up there, confirms, and then says bang bang. You know,
And then looks at her. He's a little worried. It's like, oh,
Yeah, he was worried he hit the wrong target.
He's a pro.
yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me, strangely enough, believe it or not, kind of, and maybe it was his unassumingness. If you remember Jean Reno from La
The
Femme
Professional?
Nikita. Not The Professional, but La Femme Nikita. I mean, kind of
He was
plays
the cleaner. Yeah.
He was the cleaner that comes in at the very end of The Professional and just kind of like wipes everything, like cleans everything up. You know, I
Yeah.
could see him doing the same thing. Like, I think in one part in that film, like he takes a person and he starts, you know,
Yeah, the acid.
the acid.
That's
Yeah,
so nasty.
Yeah.
I know. And they start kicking because they weren't all the way dead.
It's,
Or maybe
yeah,
that was point of no
it
return.
really kept you though.
No, that was it.
It kept you off. There's that one character, obviously, who became big at the end, the ex-police chief that was gardening or something and didn't want to get involved.
The guy that trained all the agents.
All the agents, and I think he says he trained the guy who committed the crime at the start of the
An ex-agent. That's who Milan was.
They always are.
Right.
But I have to admit that I never expected the end that we got, which is, and we can, obviously we're going to spoil it, but when she ends up finding that whole thing with the Surats and all that, and that, the way they set that up.
Did you think that was going to happen? That she was going to be wearing that at the end?
A little bit.
Yeah.
That's what do you call that? The
Tasari for Durga.
No. I mean the gun.
It's
thing.
Tolstoy's gun. Yeah.
Yeah. No. What's it called? Dude, come on. We're a movie.
It's Tolstoy's gun.
I don't know what you're asking about.
No, when you
show a gun.
Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's gun.
Tolstoy.
So that was Chekhov's Surat or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah.
and then, well, here's what I thought. I thought the young detective, the young kid that was helping her and basically falling in love with her, was going to be the terrorist. That he was going to be part of the whole conspiracy. That ultimately he would turn on her, and it would be him. So when it didn't happen, and it's, you know, let's just say when she finally meets the guy,
evil Jeff Goldblum,
and kicks her in the stomach.
Yeah.
Okay, in that scene, that fight scene, you're like, holy shit, they're actually going to do this. And then
they went there.
And then of course, then it all just. That's how she uses that belly thing to knock the gun out of his hand.
Yeah.
And it turns out she's a super.
She goes all John Wick.
She's John Wick.
Indeed.
And then escapes into the party there, or whatever, the festival, wearing
with the same outfit that everyone was wearing.
And the super cop is trying to find her, and nobody can find her. And it turns out the cop that was staying at home gardening is the one who trained her. And it was her husband that we met on the train at the beginning. Like Sean was saying, that guy that was, we thought was going to be the hero who gets taken out within the first 5 minutes. And it turns out she was her husband, and they had a baby, and she lost the baby because of his death. And that sets up this whole plot that she had to go train and find this person, and completely surprised me. And
well, they used her to get Milan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, they played the whole nobody suspects or cares about a pregnant woman, and they actually did that to us as the audience.
Right. Exactly.
So
that was well great.
done.
Yeah.
And also that's why when Bob, when she's on the subway and you think she's going to push her in front of the train, he just scares her because she's not worth killing.
Right.
You know, she's this pregnant woman. He's just trying to scare her. And I will say that I thought that Conroe, I could see why it's a star-making turn. I just loved that character. He walks into the police station, says, "Everybody out of this room."
Yeah.
And they're like, he doesn't even introduce himself. He's just so assured that his force of his personality.
And he's 5'0". There's nothing to him. But he has that authoritative approach, and they're all afraid of him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought he was a great character who we lose a little bit.
Well, then you got to watch Sacred Games because he's the lead in that, and he's great in it.
Mm-hmm. No, but there's just so many great, and she was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, she's terrific. Yeah. And I think it is funny. I always do like that when it's one of those things where you go back and you look at it. It reminds me not of The Sixth Sense, but the way that the hook was presented.
Oh yeah.
Like looking back, it's so obvious. I mean, they didn't even really need to do, like in The Sixth Sense, when you realize he's dead, they do that thing where they flash back to like 6 different things that were telling you all along. They didn't even really need to do that. And I did kind of like in this film, like you said, they mention, hey, nobody ever, you're a pregnant woman. You're no threat to anybody or whatever.
But
they did all of that when she was cleaning the room. They went back to when she was.
And my point is though that it's like, and the whole time,
right?
I bought into it. I never thought that she wasn't.
I'm telling you, the way the woman acted the part,
right?
She acted like she was pregnant, And
was
I
great.
kept wondering, did this woman actually film this while she was pregnant? Because the
I
way
thought
she
that
was,
too.
the way
I
she
thought
was
that too.
waddling and the way she was walking, she just nailed exactly what a pregnant
She
person
was
would
like
be going through.
me. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
If you watched me in the last episode where you saw
Because we
me
do get that
walking,
question a lot. Is Sean pregnant? I mean, I've heard that. Like
So
several
I
people.
actually was wondering. I was gonna look it up. Was she actually pregnant when she did this? So it just shows, what a fantastic job
No,
she
but
did.
she hung out with pregnant women and researched everything that
Okay,
they do
then whatever
when
she
they're
did,
pregnant.
it worked
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
great
thought
job.
I believed that she was pregnant. And
Well,
even
it's-
they're showing her like her sweat, armpit, everything they were doing in the film was
Yeah.
like, this person is really pregnant. I can't get over this. And
Well,
the
I think-
wiping down to pay off that she's wiping fingerprints was just fucking brilliant.
I think the movie did a really nice job with its sense of place. I was looking at the stuff that we've watched, and we haven't seen, I don't think, and if I've missed something, I know the audience will let us know. I don't think we've seen a lot of movies set in Kolkata. There was Piku and Byomkesh Bakshi and this, and it was really neat that it just gave a very distinct sense. This felt like a different city than Delhi, and the whole thing about the b and v sound are the same.
Yeah.
That there's some of that in the Hebrew alphabet also, where it's kind of like sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't matter, but everybody knows that's the same thing. But it was interesting that was clearly regional. Vidya, and she's like, that's basically annoying. My name is Vidya, and they're all like, it's Vidya, it's fine. Like they literally don't see it, and that was one of those things.
She
like,
also, I love
go
that
to
she
the
just-
next city, and it won't be that way.
Yeah,
So it was
she
neat.
also just gave up on it too. She just
Right.
was like,
Right, no,
okay,
and that because that's what it is.
Yeah.
You can say, you could say if you went to Jackson, Mississippi, and said, I don't want to hear anybody say y'all. I mean, that's just how people say you guys or whatever they want. It was just kind of very distinct sense of place for me.
Listen, I love the joke about the hot running water.
Oh, I was just about to
Yeah,
bring
that was
that
cute.
up. That was great.
That kid was really good. Both
Yeah,
that
they
kid
were-
and the
that
kid
kid-
who was identifying the person in the
Yeah.
apartment were really good. Really
Yeah.
good.
So it
Yeah.
surprised me. I'm surprised. This was
Well, let's tell the joke. So she gets to the hotel, and she tries to take a shower, and the water's cold. She goes down and complains to the manager, and she points to a sign that says "hot running water." And the manager looks at it and calls over this young boy, Bishnu, and he goes, "Well, when you want hot water, you call for him, and he'll be running. He'll be running with hot water to you."
He will come running with hot water. Running hot water, hamara Vishnu.
And he turned out to be a great kid, great act performance. I believe from something I read that there were a lot of non-actors in this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So real places and non-actors.
Well, it certainly looked like they did a lot of pickups with real citizens of the city that may not have even known they were in a movie. I mean, just the streetscapes and stuff. So it was well done.
I just felt so sorry for Bob when he was. For one thing, I'm like, Bob, just turn around and shoot him.
Yeah.
But
The guy's running after him. Just turn around.
and he's like having a heart attack. And I'm feeling sorry for him. I'm like, oh, come on, Bob, you're my man.
Bob, who
You
just
were-
ruthlessly murdered a bunch of people for.
But he was very polite about it.
He was very polite.
And then did the
Yes.
little,
Yeah, he came across
afterwards.
himself and.
I was actually kind of hoping Bob would have gotten taken out by like the action of someone as opposed to getting run over, and that was pretty great. But like, I mean, I guess sometimes it's sometimes people want to see something a little bit more vindictive than just a shot to the back and it's down or something like that. But at the same time, I often wonder if it's like they're trying to maintain characters like hero presence by not having them do some like outrageous act of violence or something. Anyway, even though later when she pulls out the fake stomach, she stabs the guy in the foot and she's tearing him to pieces. Anyway,
I think that's a good point. That's what I was thinking, is that Bob dies the way he dies because he's a pro. There's nothing personal. So he happens to get run over and they have a really gross sound effect, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But when she finally meets the man she's been hunting for 2 years,
right.
Then when she pulls out her hairpin and sticks it in his neck, like she wouldn't have killed Bob like that. She didn't kill, I can't remember the other guy, the one that she shot, she very much convinced me she doesn't shoot people. That's not what she does. She was shocked.
Yeah, that was another.
But that was
that's
very
another
personal
parent,
at the end, and it made sense why. So
yeah, well, she killed her husband and her kid. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
and Bob,
yeah.
that's like to see someone's head get squished like that. That's pretty like degrading. They did that in The Sopranos, where they killed that last guy. Where he got shot and then he got his head run over by a truck, by a van, by his wife's. Her wife was in the car and rolled over him.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just a way to do that.
That's close casket.
Yeah, it's I was surprised. And again, I'm not going to lie, the short 2 hours was fantastic.
Didn't mind that.
And it's a more traditional kind of thriller detective story that you're following through the whole thing. So I really appreciated this one.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was
and she is a really good actress. I was convinced she was actually pregnant. So kudos to her. I just love the way she smiled at those kids. You could see when she beamed, each kid she ran into, and her little jokey thing she did with the kids was just really charming. Really charming.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one more thing about Bob. What if I told you that he did not die and that he was in a coma and he woke up 8 years later? Because if that sounds interesting to you, you can see the 2021 movie called Bob Biswas, starring Abhishek Bachchan, which I have not watched, but apparently everybody liked Bob enough that they brought him back to life and gave him his own movie. Which
wait, this is for real?
Fine.
He comes back as that character?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Was it a prequel?
Remember anything?
Was it a prequel or was it?
No, he wakes up. He gets hit by a vehicle in Kahaani. And he didn't die. So it's so
I didn't read anything about that.
I am curious because we have seen Abhishek Bachchan in a number of the movies.
Big B.
And
Yeah.
it'll be. I guess they'll put him in a fat suit and
wait. Is it a new movie?
It's from 2021.
Oh, and what's the name of it?
It's called Bob Biswas, the guy's name.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I gotta check that out.
I mean, it sounds like it would be dreadful. Apparently,
well,
it's
but with
not
him in
dreadful,
it,
but it's not great.
with him in it, it's not going to be dreadful.
Well, but I mean, it's just funny that it. Why not use the same guy? But for all we know, that actor is dead. I don't
Plus,
know.
it's probably going to be because after the accident, he doesn't remember his past. I bet you
that's exactly what
it'll be like Nobody.
Right. Yeah. But he genuinely doesn't know anything about himself. So that means you don't hate him for being an assassin.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
plus, when you get hit by a car like that, there's got to be some serious reconstructive surgery going on.
That's true. He could be reconstructed like the son of a famous film legend. You're absolutely right.
I hope he doesn't lose any weight though. But John, it reminds me of that film about the gangster that we watched on our hiatus.
Munna Bai.
Yeah, and then they brought that character back in the past or something.
Well, no, he is able to see Gandhi.
Okay.
The ghost of Gandhi.
Oh, it's the ghost. I thought.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny you say that because it's called Lage Raho Munna Bai, and Vidya Balan, who is the female lead in this, is the female lead in that, and she is completely glammed out. So, as beautiful as she was in this movie, she was not glammed up at all in this film, right?
No, it's just natural.
And the other one, she is glammed out, and she is gorgeous. I mean,
I would be surprised I'm surprised that they didn't do a sequel with her character in.
They did.
Oh, they did.
They did a Kahaani too, but they said everything I read about it, it's almost completely unrelated to this film.
That's what I read too.
Yeah. So they said if you're looking for that, don't bother watching. All right, listen, I want to say a few things now. The director, we didn't mention any of the names, but director is Sujoy Ghosh, who also wrote it. I think we need to give kudos for the writing because Chris said it's very tight. It stars Vidya Balan, who was in Lage Raho Munna Bai, Parambra Chattopadhyay, who played Rana. He played Rana, the cop.
The nice cop, yeah.
Yeah, and then Nawazuddin Siddiqui, who's in Gangs of Wassypur and Sacred Games. They also open it up. I love this opening. Thank you, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. That was the opening credit for it. There's a few things. The background music, and I don't usually talk about the background music, but the background music in this film was great. And it really added to the tension of the entire movie. And it was done by Vishal and Shikhar. So I want to give them credit because I normally don't do that because I usually find the music a little annoying sometimes. It really fit in this one. Also, you guys are all talking about what you kind of picked up. The only time I had two things. One was when she shot that guy, I thought she was going to end up being the terrorist.
Yeah, that occurred to me too. Yeah.
So I knew something was up.
Like when that
right.
He's a
when
villain
that
the whole time.
happened, I knew something was up with her. Up until that point, I had nothing, no twist at all. But once that happened, I knew something was going on with her. But now, obviously, I was wrong about what it was. But I even thought like Milan wasn't the guy she met at the end wasn't going to be a bad guy, and she was just going to kill him. And the whole thing was to get this guy out so she could kill him as the terrorist. That's what I thought. And then it turned around.
That's kind of what I was expecting also.
So I really liked that. Now, the other thing that was kind of foreshadowing, they celebrated Durga Purja, which is the goddess Durga's victory over Mahishasura, who is a demon, which is her story. So that was a little foreshadowing of what she was doing in the movie. Most of the cast was Bengali. Very few were Hindi. In fact, Vidya speaks Tamil. She doesn't even speak Bengali, so she had to learn Bengali. I love this film. Now, I really love this film, but I have two complaints about it that I found a little bit annoying. And it was misdirects. And the first misdirect was when she flashes back to her life with her husband, and it's the fake husband, where later on they show the real husband. To me, that's a misdirect, right? Because that's in her head that they're showing. And I thought that was kind of...
No, it's not. But I mean,
that's
the usual suspects. Where was any of this true? So
I still right. Okay,
it's
right.
What she's remembering, but it was true and showing up. Well, it was true.
Is she remembering it, or is she remembering it, or is she talking about it to somebody?
No, she was remembering it, and to me, that was a little cheat. Now, because later on they show it, and it actually did happen. The other thing that I thought was a little bit of a cheat was, and I agree with all of you, she played pregnant brilliantly, but when she was alone and no one else is around, and she's still doing the, oh my God, I'm carrying all this weight, and the stuff that she was doing around when there were people around, I thought that was kind of a cheat too, because she wouldn't be 24/7 when nobody was. Why? There'd be no reason for her to do it.
A lot of windows
because you got to stay in character. And also, John, did Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, take his helmet off when he was alone? He did it once.
No, she couldn't break character. You can't do that.
That's what I think, Ralph. Yeah.
She was okay. There was a scene where she was like overwhelmed, and they show it from her perspective, and everything's getting blurry, like she's so tired from running around being pregnant. That's a cheat because you've seen it from her perspective. It is because you've seen it from her perspective.
It's for you. The whole thing, her entire character and persona and everything is spun to fool you the same way that it fooled everybody in the movie.
I can see why John might call that a cheat based on what Drew just said, but still, she's a super agent, basically playing a character that she has to stay in character. She doesn't know when that kid's going to walk in or somebody's going to walk in. And the idea, I still think
these are windows open too.
It was a cheat. I know she did do that. She opened up every window.
Right. I don't know.
But she was smarter than everybody, because the whole movie they think they're using her.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's playing it that way, and the whole time she's using them to get what she wants.
Well, let me ask this then.
That's what I loved about it.
There's that scene where, she knows that guy is kind of falling in love with her a little bit. She gets that feeling. And there's a scene where she kind of starts shunning him when he explains to her that, of course we're using you. I'm working with that other guy, and that's because you're a pregnant lady. Nobody's going to bother you. And it's like
But that was part of the plan. She has to be offended that you're using me because I'm using you. And this is all part of the plan to get me where I need to go. So that's why she did that. And then she reconciles with him,
Kind of. I thought she was going to end up with him. But that scene where she's crying and she realized she was so deeply hurt by what had happened that they wouldn't have her go with somebody else, that she was so deeply.
Well, but again, she's a pro. She's like, Barbara Biswas. I mean, she is the most committed professional in the whole.
Well, she was trained by the Colonel. The Colonel,
right? But it wasn't going to end with any kind of romance. She had a mission, and she did whatever it took to do the mission.
That's
and
true.
part of
her
undercover was letting people think they were manipulating her. And I found it a little slow at the beginning, but once I realized, what kind of story it was telling. I was surprised. I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know the whole pregnancy thing, how that was going to be, but it ended up being really satisfying. It actually reminded me of one other movie that's much trashier. I don't know if you guys remember. It's from 20 years ago. It's called Taking Lives, with Angelina Jolie hunting a serial killer. And a whole,
I saw it in the movies. It didn't stick
a fake pregnancy that you really have no idea is a big important part of the movie and stuff. Just super nasty. And I thought it was more interesting here because it was just another disguise. Like it could have been a mask in Mission Impossible or something, and you just wouldn't know.
Well, I'll tell you, that was one of the best fake pregnancy things I've ever seen. Because
that's all her selling it.
When that thing popped out, that was shocking.
Yeah,
because I asked the same question.
That kick in the stomach was like,
oh what? Yeah, and then the way she doubled over,
yeah.
But I thought the same thing you guys did. Geez, I wonder if she was actually all this running around. I wonder if she was really pregnant when she did this movie.
Yeah, she fooled all of us too.
Yeah, so I thought that was wonderful. But she's beautiful too.
She's verbal Kent. Yeah,
those brown eyes, man. When they closed up on her face, she was just gorgeous. I mean, just beautiful.
Again, the way she lit up with the kids. I mean, that to me is what. And she was
with
just
the radio.
It's that whole like I keep saying Columbo, but that whole it's the whole thing with the pregnant lady. That whole gentle way that she was getting answers.
Yeah,
that she,
more like
Mrs.
Columbo.
Mrs. Columbo, but a detective who is like at that point we think she's not a trained detective, and she's getting all these answers that she's looking for, and it turns out she's completely trained. And she, like I think Drew said it, the writer fooled us too. We were in the same position everybody else was because we're believing this pregnant lady.
Well, how quickly I do software, and all of a sudden she's a hacker too. Right. I'm like, okay.
Well, no, she doesn't say she's a hacker. She's like, I think I can do this, and then other people are like, "Are you a hacker?" And she kind of just goes,
"Yeah."
Like she let people think what they wanted to think because that's what she was pushing them to think.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, when a movie fools me like that, I find that very satisfying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic thing movies can do, which is to subvert your expectations, and they, often don't do that these days.
Well, when she whips out the fake stomach, I literally went, "Whoa!" Like I shouted out loud, like, "Holy!"
Well, then she started karate chopping him all over the place.
Then she pulls that thing and sticks it in his neck. So
and that made me sure that she was the bad guy the whole movie, and then she wasn't the bad guy.
Right,
so,
right.
It doubled down.
Well, what? Yeah, they could have pulled that because she could have walked through that crowd wearing her the Serato, whatever, and that's it. Like poof. Like what's it? The devil. Once you never know that they're gone. Whatever Kaiser Soze.
Yeah, Kaiser Soze. It's very inspired by that, but not a ripoff. It's just that idea that you cannot believe anything that she told you. It's just fortunately she was doing it for the good guys in this case.
Right.
So
anyway, well done. Good film.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah.
There's that whole
finish of the wheel.
Yeah.
This was one of my favorite ones in a long time.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
I think it's great. We've had two really, really solid films in a row.
Yeah, what was the one right before this? I can't
remember.
Death in the Gunge.
Death in the Gunge.
Again, remind me what happened there.
That's the guy who at the end gets shot.
5 stars,
he kills himself.
Remember? That's the one
he's
where
in the trunk.
Oh yeah. I love that one. Yeah.
The ghost.
Very
the ghost.
That one.
Who's not there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, the one I figured out.
Yeah, you figured out 2 minutes into the movie. He's dead.
He's dead.
You're so good.
All right. So next week, next one, Indian Cine-Maniacs, we're doing the 12th fail.
12th fail.
But why don't I just for us, for the audience?
Oh yeah,
let's show the other. I think it's 5
good
you
call.
put on there.
5.
And you can see the percentages, and we're not going to spin it. I'm just going to show it.
Yeah,
okay?
There was about 225 people that voted in the poll.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
this was the top 5 out of the 10 movies.
And these are 5 of your 10-ish minute reviews.
Yeah.
These are films you've already reviewed.
Yeah.
Not sure about your percentages there, man.
We got a percentage issue? What's happening?
Well, let me explain why.
It was supposed to add up to 100.
You couldn't
that's
put
how percentages work. Yeah.
You couldn't put 10 on a list. You had to go 5 and 5.
Oh, okay.
That's why. So these were the top from the 2 lists.
Okay, so those are the other 5 that we're going to do after the 12th fail. Okay?
Yeah. So URI Surgical Strike, Barfi, Jawan, Cinema Bondi, and Vikram.
Okay.
Those are the 5. And the top choice was URI Surgical Strike.
But we're going to spin. We're not going to
I'm sorry, Vikram.
We're not going by top. We'll spin this.
No, we're going to spin. I just wanted to show the percentage. I just wanted to show the percentages of the picks. That's
okay.
all.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The only thing I would say is some of the movies, like I don't know if you were planning on doing this or if you already watched it, but there's I wouldn't want you to watch the 10-ish minute review, especially on a film like Barfi, because there's things in the movie that I want you guys to find out on your own without.
Thank you. I totally
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I'm not gonna watch the review.
Okay, good, because
Depends how long the films are. Honestly.
well, you've actually seen Barfi.
I have.
You saw my show.
Oh,
because you even commented on it. So
I did.
Yeah, but these are good. These are good.
Did I hit the like button? I don't remember.
I think you actually told me you liked the way I did it on that particular episode.
Oh,
so I don't want to give anything away.
How generous am I?
Some of them are long. Jawan's pretty long, but that's also one that came out. I saw that in a movie theater in the past year. So that is a little bit long, but it's good. I liked it.
All right, so John, just give us the name of who gave us Kahaani again. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that.
No, Aravindan Andan.
All right. Thank you, Aravindan.
I hope I got that right.
Thank you. Good.
That was a good film. Really enjoyed that film. So
that was good.
That was a good way. That was a good way to finish out that viewer wheel. So I'm glad it spun out the way it did. Honestly.
And I'm not going to wait to dive into that enigmatic world of Kahaani. We went there.
So
we went there.
I got to admit, that was a show that this movie was one that I rarely picked up the phone because I didn't want to miss anything on the screen on this.
Yeah, no, Chris used the right word. This was a tight film. This was a tight film.
It was good. You know, there was not a lot of fat on it.
Yeah.
It was no 13B, but it was well done.
All right, so next week it's Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother podcast.
Yeah,
that's my film. We're bringing Under the Skin, another tight film. With a beautiful woman as the lead, who's in a foreign country, not kind of foreign, but picking up that movie. They picked up strangers as well. Actually, non-actors were part of that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
All of that. So that's a fun one.
In the foreign country of Scotland.
Scotland, yeah, you couldn't understand.
You don't think that's foreign?
What's that, Sean?
If you don't think that's foreign, that's worse.
Well, when you listen to those guys speak, I mean, it's tough. You ever seen that clip where two Scottish guys are in an elevator talking about which buttons are what? It's pretty funny because they don't.
That's a good companion to the clip of the guy who can't get Siri to understand him with his Scottish accent, which is pretty funny.
I will say one thing. I'll do my Scotland stuff later when we get to the movie.
Well, you got a whole Scottish.
Well, my grandmother's name was Robertson. We're Scottish.
Oh,
I swear, Sean, everything we do, you have some relative that's part of whatever civil. Last week it was a civil
Irish,
German. I think you have German in there, Italian,
and Italian, obviously.
I mean,
and Scottish and Bohemian.
What's Bohemian?
Czechoslovakian.
Oh,
but
no Indian.
No Indian. No Indian.
You sure?
No, and I keep doing these. They keep redoing my genealogy test on Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
And I started off with a good 7% European Jewish. And now I'm down to 1%. I'm very disappointed.
Okay. I don't know how that
I'm
works.
losing my Jewish.
I'm not sure that bodes well for your testing process.
Well,
the tests actually do change over time because more people are submitting their DNA, so it refines things. When I first did it, I was 99.7% Ashkenazi Jewish and 0.3% Senegambian from West Africa. And then they give you an update every once in a while, and then when it got updated, and ever since then, this is going to surprise you, 100%.
What?
So,
what? Oy vey! Are you kidding me?
Shocking.
All right, guys. Nice show. Good movie. Good movie.
Fun, guys.
Probably the greatest pregnancy. I'm trying to think of another. What's another film where a woman was pregnant?
Frances McDormand, but she was pregnant.
In
I
Fargo?
think I'm gonna
Fargo.
Yeah,
I was wondering about that.
But this was the best fake pregnancy I think I've ever seen.
I swear to God, I was looking it up, going, she must have been pregnant.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't. Usually they give you, when you see fake pregnancies, it's usually that one big bump. And this wasn't like that. This was
well, remember, she's
a
also
little bit longer.
She's wearing it under some clothing too. So that helps.
Yeah.
That helps.
No, I thought it was really looked authentic. There were some wide shots of her, and I'm like, that's just
it's the way she walked.
The Hollywood
God bless her. The method acting it paid off.
One of my favorite like pregnancy surprise movies. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Alien by Ridley Scott from 1979. It's a really good pregnancy movie. I think.
That one really.
It is surprising.
Set the bar hard.
It's right. It's shocking.
Yeah, it is. All right, guys. Good week. I'll see you next week for.
Hey, good job on Very Little Sleep, by the way.
Hey,
yes.
Listen, you know,
Rob.
I gotta keep the energy.
On it.
The show must go on.
Yeah, I got to keep rolling. So,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, I was at the Grand Canyon yesterday watching a
Oh, wow.
sunrise. So that's where
Nice.
I was. It was.
So wait,
amazing.
let me tell you one story about the Grand Canyon. I took 3 rolls of film at the Grand Canyon. I've only been there once. I took 3 rolls of film. I was living in California. I brought them to be developed. I go to pick up my pictures, and she goes, "Yeah, we had a problem. We wiped out all your negatives, but here's 3 free rolls of film."
Whee!
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what's
like-
film?
I'm like, what?
What's film? My favorite Grand Canyon movie is when Bugs Bunny fills it in when the reward for killing a bunny was only $2. Remember, he sawed off Florida and he filled in
I
the Grand
wish.
Canyon.
No, it's the Brady Bunch. It's the Brady Bunch, man. When they got lost in the Grand
So,
Canyon.
anyway, Grand Canyon, it was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys next week.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.